Welcome to Bigfoot
and the Bunny,
This is a couple's journey into the mysterious,
the unknown, and the paranormal.
I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I'm your host, Kristen Johnson.
Together we are Bigfoot and the Bunny.
Welcome to Bigfoot and the Bunny. I am your host, Chris Carr. Kristen may be joining us. I don't know. She is at home. Her son's sick, and she's trying to join by phone. So we'll see how that works out. I'll add her if she joins. I did want to tell you guys about the auction going on for Brandon Cooper. I'm going to put a couple of links out here in the chats. For you guys, because this is pretty cool. There is some really good stuff available in this auction. If you're into investigating paranormal, there are definitely things here you're going to want. I'm going to put a link out here. And that is the Supernatural Inc., creators of this, among many other ITC tools. This is a Nanocom box. It's a Nanocom 2. It's kind of a little bit of a prodigy. I don't know. Experiment. And only Greg Koss and I have these Nanocom 2s, and they're pretty cool. And you can see the little Dark Horse Paranormal. There you go. Logo on there. Spirit box, but there's like an EM pump. There is all kinds of really cool stuff on there. There's Supernatural Inc. sweatshirts. There are what do you call this thing? I love this thing, the SLS Ghost Cam. I'm actually going to share my screen so you guys can see that. There it is. There. Can you see that? That's up for auction. Currently at $300, which is far less than what they actually cost. I know I was looking up these things the other day. The SLS cam, which uses the Connect cam in some way, shape, or form to identify people or spirits. The little stick figure type things that you tend to see using these devices, and I have used them myself to great effect. Currently at $300. I mean, that is not bad. This link, I'm going to share the link right to the particular page. You can get this right now. Bid on it. I believe that was donated by the Horn Paranormal. I see Kimberly Horn out there. What's going on? Yes, the U.S. shot down the spy balloon. The infamous, very infamous Chinese spy balloon was taken out of commission today. And you're in love with Lynn Monet. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, sir. And she is a beautiful woman. We're going to bring her on momentarily. Yeah, the Chinese spy balloon. So much has been made about this in the press. I thought this was kind of funny. Like, it's like it's the 1800s again or something. And we're sending, balloons to other countries to spy on them. It's right there. Of course, we're going to see it and eventually shoot it down, I guess. It seems kind of obvious. Was that a bad move to shoot it down? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's some kind of repercussions from shooting it down? What do you think? Why would China send a balloon over the U.S. to spy on us? It seems kind of ridiculous. You can just put on the TV. You see exactly what we're up to. They're not all that different. Anyways, I have great guests for you guys tonight. Let me see here. I'm just trying to see if I have anything else. Just a minute. Okay. We have a new show coming under the umbrella of Dark Horse Paranormal Productions, and it is a really going to be a great show, just like our show with Reggie and Greg. It's another show coming out, and it's called Synchronicity. And I think you guys are going to love this, adding pieces to the puzzle. It features Anne-Marie Young and Lynn Monet, and we've got them here live. So let's bring them on. We're going to talk to them and talk about what the show is going to be about. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, definitely.
We've been excited, looking forward to doing this.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited for you guys to come out with your show. Do your thing. You guys both have gifts that are unique, and I think it's going to be an amazing show.
I think we blend well.
Yeah, I think we do too. You know, we both do kind of different things, and then there are some things that we do together. So our strong points and our weak points, they complement each other. So we balance everything out. So with us, we're like one-stop shopping because we cover just about everything you could possibly, want or need, from readings to, a death doula. I mean, it's everything included. So yeah, we hope to help people that way too, how and answer questions for people and help them to learn.
Well, that's what it's about. Bill mentions that I have a very calming voice. And
yes, you do.
We'll do a meditation video. I've thought about doing exactly that. I've recorded some audio of a creek behind a very haunted location where we had a lot of different experiences that I may do a voiceover. So Bill, I'll let you know. Lots of people out there. You guys are great. So I am so psyched about the new show coming up. What kind of things are you going to be covering? What kind of guests are you going to have? Can you fill us in? What's next?
Well, we have a pretty good range of different people that we're getting ready to interview, like Joshua Dixon, Alfred Santiago, Nathaniel, Lisa Kahn. I don't want to butcher her name. I know Lisa.
Cohen Teague. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Lynch.
Yep.
Also.
Oh,
And John Russell.
Dr. Michael Lynch.
Yes. Yeah. We are actually booked pretty much through almost by the time we're finished, it'll be to the end of May. And we haven't even started touching on some of, the people that we still have on the list in mind to have come in and talk with other people. But we're excited. So it's going to be a great show.
Do you have Nathaniel Gillis? Was that the Nathaniel you mentioned? All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
My brother from another.
Yeah. I love
yes. Huge fan.
Huge fan.
Into that. And
such interesting people that we want to, pick their brains too, and
please pick them away.
Bring more people to understanding different things from the different people's point of views. Everybody's always learning.
That's true. And we're even going to try to have Bill on one night because he's very well versed in like the Ascension books and the Masters and those sorts of things, and your thought patterns and how to keep your emotions harmonious and things like that, things that are important for manifesting. So we might even try to get him on one night. Who knows?
Yeah.
We might even pull him in tonight.
Interesting. Yeah.
Sounds cool. That sounds awesome, actually.
I like that.
Yeah.
Manifestation is such an interesting topic, and so many people have written about it in different ways. But it seems to happen. Quantum mechanics kind of explains it, right? In a way, like our thoughts, intentions do seem to make a difference on an atomic level.
Yes.
Whether, electron wave or particle, like it depends on the observation. That's all science can come up with. Yet, the synchronicity happens in our lives, right? And I think that might be the answer for that.
Yes, that's true. And also, they talk about too, and Bill says this all the time, where your and where you're focused, your energy flows. They try to teach you to not be focusing on someone else, to focus on yourself. What someone else is doing is not your problem. It's really not your business. You need to stay on your own path. And when you're misled by hyper focusing on someone else, then it's like wasting time, because you cannot only help people so much. They have to be able to help themselves. So it's important to focus, to keep your focus where you intend it to be.
Planting little seeds.
That's right. Planting seeds and not doing too much, doing just enough, because people have to, it's like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's true. We can lead it to water, and maybe it may not drink that day, but that seed that's planted might make it come back and drink, a year or a month, a couple of years later, when they're ready to hear more. So
not everybody's ready to hear it.
That's true.
You never know.
That's true.
So we're going to premiere the new show.
Yes, on Valentine's
14th
Day.
on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah,
which is kind of nice.
Yes. Yeah.
I think a lot of people will be home and by that time, and
we'd really like to have you and Christian on with us.
Oh, would you?
Sometime.
Whenever you want. Just mark the date, whatever you have open.
Okay.
We're there.
That's good.
Wonderful.
So are you going to use any kind of like divinatory skills in this show? Are you going to draw cards or anything like that?
I think it depends on the guest.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm when we have the people on that are going to be talking, we're kind of let them have their moment on stage, and of course get questions and things like that answered. But on the side things, there's a lot of things that for instance, Anne Marie does, such as readings and things like that people may be interested in. And on my side, I'm an author with writing. People may have questions about death and dying, and what their loved one has been seeing, or what to do in a haunted house to seal and protect yourself. I've got that book that I've just finished writing, Omnipresent 111 Becky Don Drive, which is a story about a ghost, which I've shown everybody the picture of, that was going from townhouse to townhouse, tampering with women's underwear and having sex with some of them in their sleep. They woke up with this thing in the bed with them, and and it was very, very interesting thing that it was every single townhouse that was occupied by women, and it didn't have to be just women. I mean, they were, whatever this thing was, I call him Horny Harry, it was fondling the dudes too. So, there was more than one ghost.
An orifice of some kind. So how does that work? When they have the spectra field, I think is what they call that, right? Where the ghost comes in and there is some kind of sex involved. I haven't experienced this myself. So, like, what does that feel like? What does it tell you?
The thing is I've actually had a ghost crawl into my bed before, and you can actually, they sometimes will come up from behind and kind of merge with you, and you can feel that pumping motion with the hips that's awkward because you're in the bed by yourself. This particular ghost was actually sneaking the covers down and pulling down women's underwear while they were sleeping in bed, and they would wake up and pull up their covers and pull up their underwear, and then all of a sudden they'd feel something laying with them. There was one particular couple that the wife thought it was her husband nuzzling up against her, so she was getting all happy that he was there, and then when she rolled over, he was sound asleep, and they got into an argument because she's like, "Why were you touching me like that? And then you fell asleep." So she was insulted, and he's like, "I wasn't touching you." And it was that thing that was in the room. And of course they thrive on negative energy and the fighting, and it gives them the opportunity to do more physical acts that way. But it feels like something is laying on you, or something is laying next to you and trying to merge with you, either body into body, or
That's what I'm getting at, like the actual sex part. Like, does it feel like a penis going in?
No, it doesn't. It just feels more. It feels more like rubbing and emerging, but like a tingling feeling, kind of an energetic, more of an energetic feeling. So it's more, I'm sure that it's more enjoyable for the ghost than it is for the person. It's just, very, very weird. And spectrophilia is something that some people do, but these women weren't doing that. It was not a welcome guest. It was more of a
right. It's kind of a
ghost
rape.
raping. It was a
ghost
rape.
Yeah.
And a violation of their privacy. And there was also a ghost that was standing in the bathroom mumbling at people and in the kitchen. So, even my own daughter wouldn't go in the bathroom. She would get in the bathtub, pull the curtain, and make me stand by the door with the door open because it made her feel that uncomfortable. So, yeah,
right.
it does happen.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. And I imagine that a lot of people feel this way. Like, what does it mean to be raped by a ghost? Is it like a little windy down there, or is it rubbing? What is it? What specifically did they say happened? I guess.
Well, it's just there were several different people and different things happened. Like, for instance, there was one girl that was living next door to me, and she heard that it would come and it would tap sometimes on the nightstands. I had to do that to me, where it was tapping on the nightstands. I had to have Bill come in and work his magic and then seal off mine so that we were safe. But of course, everybody else was adversely affected. But there was one woman that actually said that she woke up with her underpants down around her ankles. And she said that there was evidence that she had been stimulated or moist and leaving moisture marks on the sheets, type thing from the act itself. And she was asleep and she woke up that way, kind of sticky, feeling down there, when you get jiggy, things get moist and
jiggy,
and when they you go to sleep, you wake up, sometimes some of that comes out and it gets a little sticky. So I mean, she said it was, and this woman just so happened to be, she was an escort. And that came out that she had been doing escort work. So, of course, this was something that they were kind of drawn to her with, even more so because of her behavior. But she said that when she would wake up a couple of mornings, that it was almost as if she had sex with someone based on the secretions that were left on her and on her sheets. So that could have been her own natural lubricant from being sexually stimulated. I don't know. But that's what she was saying. And I mean, a lot of women, like the other family, the one that lived next door to me, when the wife got into an argument with the husband because she thought that the nuzzling was him. And it wasn't. He was sleeping. And she got upset with him because she thought that he wanted to get jiggy. And so she's kind of getting into the mood and getting all heated up. And then she rolls over because he starts snoring and he's asleep. And she gets mad at him because she's like, what? Now you're going to go to sleep after you got me all worked up. And he's like, I've been sleeping. I didn't touch you. So it was this type of thing that was happening because that thing would crawl into bed with them. In my house, it would stand next to the bed and tap its finger. A lot of the time, my son said that it would come in and fluff his hair on top of his head because he has a lot of beautiful hair. The next door neighbor on the other side, he had a boyfriend, and he said that the thing came in and actually he was laying, taking a nap in the buff in his house, and the thing actually came and started touching his man parts.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So and
I don't know if I want that ghost tickle because it seems like gender doesn't matter. Number one, number two, nobody touches that but Kristen. And it's a little weird, right?
Yeah, it gets very weird. And the thing is too is you question yourself. You're like, am I imagining there's nothing? Yeah, and not only that, there's nothing there. So am I imagining this? But for someone like all of us who are very aware of spirits, we would recognize what it was. And that's it's part. It was a very, very difficult time. I had gone outside of my townhouse one night. My dog was growling to go out, and I walked out onto the patio, and there was this young woman outside on her phone, and she was kind of holding her phone close and talking low because it was like 1:00 in the morning. And all of a sudden I hear her say on the phone, she says, I've got to hang up the one of the tenants are outside on their back patio with their dog. And she hung up, and of course my dog runs over. She wanted to be petted on the head. And so I walk over to get the dog, and the lady's upset, and she said, "Would you mind standing here while I go in my house and get my purse?" And I'm like, "No, is everything okay?" And she's like, "Well, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." And I'm like, "Well, try me. Is it something to do with a ghost?" And she just broke down, and she says, "How did you know?" And I started to tell her, about what had been happening in my place. So I went to the door with her. She ran in, she got her purse and her keys, even though she was in her pajamas. She was running to her car because she was on the phone with her parents that lived 2 hours away. She was going to drive over there and sleep. She had rented the townhouse with her boyfriend, and they ended up moving out about 2 months later.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that bad. I mean, there was one point, there was something that happened in their house. Well, the boyfriend was home, and he came over to knock on the door because she had told him about the fact that I had mentioned about the ghost and validated that there was one. And she came back to the townhouse when he had returned, and she was literally in her bath towel and bathrobe, which still looked like she had shampoo in her hair, when she was trailing out the townhouse behind him when he came over to ask me, about, could I come over and help them or whatever. And I mean, I was handing out dragon's blood and sage left and right to people.
Do you
because
like
I was
dragon's blood? Is that favorable?
I like the dragon's blood because it's stronger than sage, and especially when you're working with something on a malevolent level, like a demonic level, or even some of the attachments and things like that. Sometimes the sage just pisses them off. The sage is a good cleanup. It's a good thing for balancing. It's a good thing to clear your room before meditation and even something like this. But if you're dealing with something that's a higher level demon or something like that, it just makes them angry. They will move away, but they will come back. And when they come back with a vengeance. It doesn't make them stay away. The
It
dragon's
is
blood.
a sap of trees, if I'm not mistaken. I've got some.
Yeah, the dragon's blood is something that they really, really don't like, and it is more of a repellent than the neutralizing of the energy. Or now it will help with it'll help with a lost soul.
It comes in chunks, and it's like a rock, really.
Resin.
It can come as a resin, but it can also come in sticks.
Yeah, I've gotten them in sticks. That's what I use, is the sticks.
Yeah, I use both.
Same smell.
Yeah, it has a great smell, but the thing is that there's something more to it, and they don't like it. It's more of a repellent. Now, the sage works well with lost souls, but when it comes to demons, it doesn't do anything but make them angry.
I think every smell has a different energy to get rid of a different thing.
I agree. Yeah, it's kind of like it smells like an energetic thing almost. It goes into
just
the
like
air.
colors, rocks, all of them, stones, crystals. They each represent something different, and they all work separately for different things. Everything's got its own purpose.
That's true.
I agree with you. I think maybe it goes back to our own thoughts and like what triggers us in a way that brings that out. If a clear crystal means something deep inside your mind, then the effects of that may come out. The same with the dragon's blood and the smell.
Also, different people are made up of a different chemistry, and certain crystals may work for me that won't work for you, or vice versa. Certain things that make me feel safe may not make somebody else, may make them go crazy. It all depends on the person, and you got to know who you are to pick it out. You can't always take advice from other people.
No, I agree. I think you have to experiment and try things yourself.
That's right.
See what works for you, right?
And sometimes too, the crystals, they resonate in energy, and you're just drawn to them. So a lot of times, Bill and I actually do go. We do mining. We mine for crystals, and we found some beautiful pieces. But also, we go to those places where you can wholesale crystals. And a lot of times, the ones that you think that you'd be drawn to, you're not. And then there are other ones that just call you, and you pick them up, and you can feel their energy, and you just resonate and connect with them at a certain level.
Now, how do you do that when you go mining? Like, do you have caves? Do you go in a cave with like a pickaxe? Like, how does that work?
No, there are certain places that have like veins of certain types of crystals, like sapphires or amethysts. There are a few of them that have a combination of things, and you actually go in and you pay your money, and then you go in and you find a spot and you start digging. So when if you can hit a ribbon, or it's ribbon's not the word, but it's like a rib, like a track of them. You just keep digging in that, or if you find certain things too, like um, there's a white and a black substance that goes along with like crystal quartz and things like that, and amethyst, that when you kind of come across that, to keep digging there,
something else
because
is
eventually,
there.
yeah,
It's around
yeah,
tourmaline or something is right by
yes,
it, or they cluster together. They're like attracted. And that
yeah.
also goes with different areas that you live in, South
Mhm.
Carolina to New Hampshire, to every area has a different stone and crystal that it's
Mhm.
built off of. And it too has its different energy. Different plants only grow certain areas around certain plants. It's
That's
really so
that's true.
interesting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
That's very, very true.
fascinating. Totally fascinating. Um, some comments out there. I'll bring a couple of these up.
A lot of things
Tara
about
says,
crystals. Oh, sorry.
it's all right. I always ask, know where the light is when you are prompting the spirit to cross over.
Let's see.
That's
In my
interesting.
mind's eye.
If you're crossing a spirit over, do you see the light that you're trying to bring them to?
In my mind's eye.
When I cross spirits over, you'll notice something about lost. Are you referencing lost souls or people that are actively passing? With that,
I
There
guess
is a difference.
really.
yeah, because it is different.
There is a difference.
Lost souls kind of lose their way, and there's actually a cord, like a connection that you'll notice lost souls, they're looking direct or side to side or down, but they're not looking up. And sometimes it's just a matter of telling them to look up. When they look up, they can connect with that cord, and then they go. And that's usually how I help them cross over. But as far as somebody crossing over with a natural death, it can be different ways. I know that with my mother, when she passed away, I actually saw them huddling around her, and so as to like stabilize her spiritual feet, and she walked out past me with them. I've heard of people talking about the spirit coming out even way before the body has stopped breathing, and it has just shot up through the ceiling. I've heard a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of different things with people, and the way that they cross over. But there's always a light and an energy involved to it, and the energy and the light seems to emanate from within the atmosphere itself. Once that Wally faces and the loved ones come through to help them cross over.
I myself have watched people on their way over, and like my cousin, and I know the energy around him. When I was looking at him, I could see the vibrations around him, and the different lights and just different feeling. And in my mind's eye, I could picture that was the opening. I knew, it wasn't too much longer before he would be passing. And every time I'd go and visit him, that opening was a little bit bigger. Them lights were a little bit brighter around him. I know the other people in the room, it was a very difficult situation, family situation going on. And I was not really welcome, but good luck getting me out of the room. And that's why most of my relatives knew that that I could face off with this person, because I was going to be there when my cousin died. So the rest of my family could, let him know that we were all there for him. And I can remember every time I visit him, that light was a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And in my mind's eye, I could feel it, more than. So when I'd look, it's kind of like aura, but it's different. It's a different energy.
Yeah,
And we have
again,
a question out there from our Twitch audience, which is very few. I'm glad to see somebody out on Twitch
Yay!
coming out to say hello. What's happening there, John Anomalous? Do you see lost souls? So when you're working
Yes.
with these spirits, do you see them? Do you see them like in a sort of with your eyes, or do you just see them in your mind?
The way that I see spirits is out of my peripheral vision. I can see them as clearly as I can see you. I can see what they have on, how their hair is styled. I can see them walking. As they get closer to me, I can sometimes see a lower half or like a shoulder or something, but I see this energetic waffling to the air. So I know that the spirit is still there if they're real, real close to me. And the thing is too, is the best way that I can describe it is there was a time that I had a lost soul. I was working. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 37 years, most of that in end of life care. And I was in the front of a room of a patient who was actually passing, and I noticed this lost soul, a gentleman peering from around one of the pillars in the sitting area. And I remember saying hello to him, and he was kind of taken back and looking to see if I was talking to somebody else, because he obviously hadn't been spoken to in a long, long time. And finally I said to him, I said, no, you there, why haven't you crossed over? And he realized I was talking to him, and he kind of came forward towards my medicine cart. And I said to him, this lady here is getting ready to pass away, and, I could hook you up, which really he didn't need to be hooked up. These were her family members and loved ones that were coming in to help her cross over. But I was letting him know that if he wanted to go along with them, that he wouldn't have to go by himself. And of course, people stay earthbound for different reasons. And in his case, his reasoning was because his wife and mistress were on the other side, and he didn't feel that he could cross over because he didn't want to have to face them and be confronted about his infidelity. But in the same token, I did mention to him, I said, I can see you and I can help you cross over. And a lot of people can't see you, but those that can will mostly likely run off screaming because you're a ghost to them. So, I can help you if you want help. And he kind of faded away I never saw him again. So I'm not sure whether he decided to go or not, but I made mention to him, that his wife and his mistress probably aren't even there anymore. The way that he appeared, he looked like he had clothes on from like the 1800s. He'd been gone that long. So it depends on what their reason that they've stayed here. Sometimes it's because of religious beliefs. Sometimes it's because of still looking over someone, a pet or a child, or maybe someone that they were watching over and expected to cross over first. So they'll linger, and then they end up losing their way. So it's just a matter of reconnecting them with that cord.
They're connected to the corporeal, the people that are in physical bodies, still working, doing their thing. I think a lot of them do that in one way or another. Having lost some relatives, it's coming up to be the anniversary of my father's passing, for example. And I think like he was around, a lot during that time, right after his passing.
I think a lot of people wait for this big, huge moment, to say, oh, yeah, definitely. It's the little things that you pay attention to, certain smells, different words, different music, and then you get to thinking about that person. That's what draws that energy to you. When you start thinking about that person, they can be right there, right around you. And you will, the more little things that you recognize, the bigger them things become. And I just wanted to mention, to echo comment I love about the hawk. She keeps getting visited by a hawk. I always get visited by a hawk. That's so cool.
I'm pretty sure Echo is a dude.
Whoever it is, him or her.
Echo. I know who Echo is. Echo is a dude, yes.
Oh, hi, Echo. Sorry to call you her. I have no idea.
No, it's okay. You're not the first person to make that mistake.
Right. Thank you. I'm glad he's seen that.
Who is not on tonight, actually was hitting on it, Eric. So, let's see. Jack Kilowatt says, Lynn, in your experience with helping spirits cross over, do they often see their family or friends that have passed on? And they also help bring them into the spirit world.
Yes.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying, right? So, like, my dad passed, and, God rest his soul. When things happened, there was a lot of activity. I was having experiences. It was like he was here, letting me know that he had passed on,
and that he was okay.
Yeah, exactly.
because that's another thing. As far as Jack's question, yes, they do. As a matter of fact, a lot of times patients will start to see loved ones coming in even as much as a year early. Unfortunately, the medical field sees that as hallucinations, even though they're not. I mean, they're talking about seeing people that other people in the family also know or recognize, or friends for that matter. And a lot of times, even if they mention somebody that's not familiar to the family, it'll be familiar to them once they cross over. That may be somebody from a different lifetime. But yes, their families do come in. Angels do come in. There are magnificent beings that may even be from another solar system that come in, that are very, very tall, that all come in to help people cross over. And a lot of times you'll hear loved ones talking to them while they're getting ready to pass, or reaching up into the sky to receive something from them, and they're happy with it. And the feeling of elation that blankets those people. Death itself is never scary. It's just a beautiful, like being in a warm bath and just kind of going out.
It's so interesting. Everybody wonders from day one, is there an afterlife? Does this really happen? And the older religions before Christianity preached that, you would just move on. There would be a place for you, no matter who you were. If you were a particularly bad guy, you would go to, the kind of the hell. But most people just moved on to the middle, right? If you're a hero in battle, you would go on to this kind of like heaven-like thing. It's very strange. Jack says, "Great answer, Lynn." That's great.
Well, thank you. I hope that I answered that well enough. I've seen a lot of people cross over. I've seen a lot of lost souls and things like that. But the main thing is if I can just share one story, and I know a lot of you have heard this story, to kind of bring it home for everybody, and it's a quick one, that I had a patient that was blind, and I didn't know her that well, but her family, her son and daughter, come up to me at the nurse's station and they say, "Mom's talking to people in the room that aren't there." And I'm like, okay, well, let me come down with you and check her, see if she needs anything to make her more comfortable. And of course, when all three of us walked in the room, she was reaching up into the air, smiling like she was reaching for snowflakes or something that was fragile or, very delicate, because she was very carefully handing it. And when we walked into the room, I asked her, I said, "Edna, who's here?" And she said, "George." And her daughter turned as white as a sheet and had to sit down. And she said, "Well, George is my father. And my father's been gone. He passed away X amount of years ago." And of course, then Edna says, "And he's happy that you're taking good care of Pixie." And the son speaks up and says that Pixie was Edna's poodle. When Edna went blind, the son had to take possession of Pixie because Edna could no longer care for the dog. The dog was still very much alive, an older dog, of course, but still very much alive. So she said, "And he's happy that you're taking good care of Pixie," was what George was relaying through her. And the son asked me in that moment, he said, "Do you think that my mom is hallucinating?" And of course, I can't come out and just say, "Well, no, her loved ones do come in. I don't, type thing." So I usually put the question back and I asked her, I said, "Well, do you think that she's hallucinating?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, let me try something." I said, "Edna, can I ask George a question?" And she nodded. And I said, "George, what color is your son's shirt?" Well, keep in mind that this lady's blind. She can't see anything, not shadows, not anything. She hasn't seen anything for 10 years. And she said yellow. And he was wearing a yellow Ralph Lauren polo shirt, a pastel yellow Ralph Lauren polo shirt. And he got it in that moment. It became profound for him because he realized that his father actually had to be there in order to give the messages. And when people are getting ready to cross over, their filters efface that build up while being on Earth, and they can hear the telepathy from the spiritual side as well as the speech from the human side. So a lot of times they're able to answer through them questions for the humans if people would take more opportunity to use that period of time to communicate with the other side, you have that opportunity. So, yeah.
So you're saying that people have an opportunity to
Yes.
speak to those that are dying and passing, and once they're passed, to continue talking to them.
Yes.
But it's a short period of time. Why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, you can learn so much from a person that is actively dying, because they do this thing called rallying, where they go in between the dimensions. They're kind of testing the water, so to speak. And when you walk in and you see them, their eyes are kind of glazed over, their feet are kind of floppy, and all of a sudden their toes will perk and their eyes will brighten up. And when they come back in, they start talking about things that they've seen on the other side. They start talking about people that they've seen. I had an example with a lady who, again, it's a little story, that was in visiting her aunt, and her aunt had one of those rallying moments. And she said to her niece, and I'm standing in the room with her, she said, I think her name was Karen or something. I don't remember what I named her in my book. Karen, when are you going to have those babies? I want to see those babies before I go home to Jesus. And Karen said to her, she said, well, I can't have children. I've been trying for 25 years to have children, and I'm in menopause. She says, no, these are your children. I see you holding one in each arm, and these are two little girls, and they belong to you, and they look like you. And then she even went on to describe that they had, she said, ringlet, whitish blonde ringlet hair, chocolate brown eyes, and dimples is what the woman described these children as even looking like. So lo and behold, the lady passes away, and then Karen's uncle goes through the unit, and then Karen's another relative goes through the unit, and 6 months later she comes in because the uncle's in the unit, and she's got a baby bump. So I got to see her, and I'm like, oh, tell me about this baby bump. And she was pregnant with identical twin girls. And sure enough, I got to see them when she came back with the next relative. When they were babies, I got to see them toddling, and I got to see them again when they were about 6 years old. And they had blonde curls, chocolate brown eyes, and dimples, just like the lady described. And they looked just like the mom. So, which was another thing that she had said. So this woman had seen this. How
many years before then was that? Did that happen? Like 3 or 4 years before that, which is really, you got to see them with that curly hair, and she had described that
actually
previously.
But actually the girl was pregnant at that time and did not know it. And that's why the woman kept coming back and saying, when are you going to have those baby girls? I want to see those baby girls before I go home to Jesus. But I mean, there have been a lot of things like that. Another woman who said to her daughter, there's a little boy here calling me grandma. And this is a funny story because, again, this woman, her daughter was an only child. She wasn't married. She's like, well, I'm an only child. I'm not married. I don't have a boyfriend, and I'm going through menopause. I don't know why you'd see a little boy in here calling you grandma. She says, no, there's a little boy in here calling me grandma, and he looks just like you. Lo and behold, she ended up meeting a guy actually in our facility whose wife had just passed away, and they'd befriended each other for almost a year. And then he asked her out. They ended up getting married. And at 51 years old, she found out she was pregnant, and she had a healthy little boy. So they see these things. They can come back with this information. How many times have you heard somebody say, I wish I could tell somebody, I'm sorry one more time, or even, tell somebody that they love them again. This is your time when they're going through this transition stage where they can hear the telepathy as well as the communication earthwise. But it's a good idea to be specific about what you're asking and to give a chance for a response. And that's why it's also important, too, that if you have a particular question for a particular person that has already crossed over, they need to be present in the room. It's kind of even like with the shadow box work that Chris has done with Reginald and Greg Koss also, where sometimes the spirit is not in the room that you want to talk to. So you can tell them, well, go and get so-and-so and bring them here. And a lot of times they will go and get that spirit and bring them there, so that once that spirit is present, then you can ask them a question that you want, and the person that is transitioning can hear them and tell you what the answer is.
It seems there's a direct connect there for a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, there is. You know, people
get the answers to those.
I think it's the same with birth also. When you're in the room with somebody giving birth, there's that energy that you can actually feel the ancestors and different people coming there to bring this child into the world. I know I felt it with my daughter. I felt it with my nieces. I was in all the rooms, and I can remember feeling that and knowing, and it's almost the same energies, the same people that are there. Oh, they bring them into the room for them, you know, even though the soul's already there, all that other energy is in there, you know, pushing them on. It's really, and it's all connected.
It is all connected. And I'm sure you'll agree with me on this too, Anne, being a mother. After your first child, when you had your second child, how many kids? Let's see, I've got three. How many? Okay, you and I are the same. Didn't you, when it came to the second child and the third child, didn't you know when you conceived? Didn't you have that feeling, that energetic feeling that you just knew that you were pregnant? My
husband had the morning sickness for all three. I knew I was pregnant when he was up puking by the third one. It was actually a joke. He got really sick, and I was on the Depo-Provera shot. Pooh, wasn't supposed to get. Hi, honey. There he is, right there. He actually had the morning sickness for all three pregnancies. For my last child, we were at my friend's house. He was sick, and my friend joked, Annie better take a pregnancy test. Like, ah. My niece Darcy's like, Annie, you're pregnant. She told me every time I was pregnant before I knew I was pregnant. She just knows this girl is amazing. And she just knows she can think about somebody and tell you if they're pregnant or not. And she told me I was pregnant.
I believe that. Yeah.
No, me and Doug, we went to the doctor's office because the Depo-Provera shot was making me gain weight, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, I was pregnant. Yeah, he is the one that got sick. I didn't get the sickness, but I did know I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't know I was pregnant because I was so sick. I had the diabetes. That's when I first started getting. After my son was born, my kidneys and my liver shut down.
Oh wow! And that's when you had your near-death experience, wasn't it?
Yes, because he was 12 pounds breech, and I went into labor. Oh 12 pounds? I was sent by helicopter to a major Dartmouth Hitchcock.
That's a big boy.
Oh yeah, he was, and he was also
that's a toddler.
He was 3 weeks early. Yeah, and he had
now. Damn it.
Yeah, my kidney shut down, my liver shut down. It was a real tough here and go, and I have pictures of him there. I was on so much Demerol and whatever else, literally between worlds, deciding if I was staying one or if I was going to the. It was scary. But yeah, he's healthy now.
Yeah, 12 pounds. He was laying on your kidneys and your liver. Probably
he literally squished them. They were literally shut down.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, that happens.
And they have never recuperated completely. I have to be very careful. I can't take Tylenol. I can't take ibuprofen. I can't take any kind of medicine because I am extremely sensitive. Not only sensitive soul-wise, I am sensitive health-wise. I am all herbal. I have to be.
Do you ever use any kind of like crystal elixirs that they make with the crystals? I've started to learn about the elixirs that they make, placing crystals in like distilled water.
I've done that. I've got putting different crystals in different water, moon water, waxing water. Speaking of full moon, hoo-hoo.
Yeah, full moon, right? Carol says
almost one more day.
Hi, Carol.
Experience from medicine shutting down the kidneys. So shutting down the kidneys can kind of put you in a bad place.
Yes, it can, because they release the toxins from your body through the urine, and when they're shut down, everything backs up and your blood becomes toxic. So yeah, it's a big deal when that happens. And speaking of medication with that too, I mean, a lot of times too, some of the pain medication they give you, like the morphine, it kind of reduces your respirations and your heartbeat. So, somebody that has a low respiratory level or their blood pressure is kind of low to begin with, it can shut you down.
I'm literally allergic to it. My sister-in-law, thank God she come in the room. She walked in and I was shaking. And she's like, did you put her on anything? Doesn't it say in her chart she cannot have anything? Get her off whatever medicine you're on, because I was literally shaking. Because I will, and they put it and injected. Like if I was to take a pill, I would have puked it up.
Oh, wow.
But they put it in intravenously. So then they had to flush me out afterwards because I was like such a mess. But my thank goodness my sister-in-law is a nurse, and she was like on the ball telling everybody else. She had me a new nurse. I mean, she was great. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had her to help you. Definitely.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I find too that my father was oversensitive to morphine. He had his near-death experience when he took that, and I can't take it because it makes me itch everywhere so bad.
Oh, yes,
so
me
I'm
too.
overly sensitive to it as well. Yeah.
I've been in a couple of situations where I hurt myself very badly, like a car accident. Was given morphine, and I did not enjoy it at all.
I was sick, shaking, sweating. If I was awake, I would have been itching. And my sister-in-law, thank goodness she knows me, and she knows that I can't take any kind of pills. And she was like, nope, take that off. And she was like calling my doctor to call the doctors there. They rushed me to a special hospital.
Oh, and, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet they did. I bet they did. Yeah. Right.
But now I'm here. We're all here.
Yes, we are. We sure are. Let's see here.
Kimberly Horn says, single, you were able to have that baby. I had cancer and a radical hysterectomy because of
the Depo-Provera shot. Yeah.
That thing messed me up. I gained 50 pounds in like a month. It was great. And I got pregnant, which I wasn't supposed to. I was already on my second or third shot. And it was like, what do you mean I'm pregnant? They were arguing in the hallway who was going to tell me. Me and my husband was sitting in the office, and we could hear the nurse and the doctor on the other side of the door. You tell her. No, you tell her. You tell her. I opened up the door. Tell me what? You're pregnant. Like, what?
Well, actually, it wasn't an accident, but it
wasn't. It was all meant to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of make those contracts beforehand. So yeah. I mean, come hell or high water, that baby was going to come regardless of what you were taking.
Oh, yeah. It didn't matter. It was all meant.
Yeah. It's interesting that things we take for granted, like Tylenol, could put you on a spin a little bit.
Yeah. And Kim, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm so sorry, that happened to you. I really, really am.
My father-in-law jokes because we were in the NICU because he was born sick also. He had an enlarged heart and something else, which all worked itself out. He had slight cerebral palsy because of all the stress during the childbirth. And he's on the spectrum of autism, but he's high on the spectrum. But that was all due to birth. But then we also got to wonder the medications that they put you on, like the Tylenol, what it did to our children now. I was on a prescription Tylenol until I had to stop taking it for my third child. Now she doesn't have the ADD, the different issues that they're now claiming, which you never know what you're taking today, what the effects are 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah, like
nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm not even going there.
No.
I don't want to know. So
no, I know they keep changing the rules, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, this is good for you. Now it isn't. Oh, this is good for you. Now it isn't.
Yeah.
No, I want to make sure that
no, you can't. That keeps happening.
I want to make sure they've had enough time to really test it out on more than rats. That's true.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, this is all right, and somehow sugar has gotten through the system, and that's okay, right? We can have lots of sugar.
Well,
And then they
actually,
found like
My
people,
pancreas disagrees.
yeah, actually, sugar does
now
create
it's medical.
inflammation in the intestines. Yeah. But you don't notice it because you don't have a lot of feeling there that way, unless something's actually, gone through the intestines. But yeah, it does cause bowel inflammation and intestinal inflammation. The sugar does.
Yeah, it
So-
does. It does. Diabetes is so common.
And the diabetes, they keep pushing that sugar-free stuff. Don't take it. It's worse for you than the
Yeah.
actual sugar. Take the actual sugar before you try to take that diet stuff, because that diet stuff, it messes your joints, it messes so much other stuff up. And it's so sad because they promote it, and it also makes you poop lots and lots and lots. Some of those sugar-free candies. So, you don't want to be taking that. You think you're doing something to help yourself, and you're really not.
And if you're not pooping, you're tooting. So let's not even
That's
go
right.
there. Don't even get
Take your fiber, not your sugar-free.
We are talking about tooting, the universal language. Yeah, never mind. I was gonna say tooting, it's a universal language, and even it goes across species, and nobody wants to be standing next to the animal or species that's the one that did it. So
Nope.
it is a universal language. But anyway, talking
Everybody's
about
like,
funny
yes.
things. Yes, they
Eckerle
are.
says the Bristol chart. Is that something?
Is a what?
The Bristol chart.
What is that?
The Bristol
I'm not sure.
the Bristol chart, is that the? Okay, I'm thinking of another chart that they do in Ashgar. There are so many charts. There are so many
I
charts.
don't know. Echo's kind of funny.
I
Yeah.
like Echo. He's funny.
Gosh,
He's
I know
good.
what it is. Oh my gosh. I'm thinking of the one that they do when the babies are born, but that's
Says
not it.
stool firmness.
That's right. And
Right.
color and consistency. Yes. So
Shape.
Yeah, and how many
says,
times you do it.
Not pooping,
That's
but
right.
tooting.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, a lot of times they won't let you leave the hospital until you can poop and toot, until you're pooping after you toot.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
but anyway,
everything's working, right?
yes.
It's working
Yeah.
as it should.
Yeah. Anne, do you want to talk about some of the things that you do with cards, and you said scrying and things like that, and tell everybody, some of what you do with that?
Well, I run a group page, Rising of the Phoenix. I hope everybody goes and joins. Where on this page, I promote a lot of paganism. Float in the air. Just kidding. And on that page, we celebrate the turning of the wheel, symbolic, the full moons. I give information on different colors, and I have a few administrators on there that we're always posting stuff, interesting stuff, things to make you laugh, because the world can be really bad. So we try to make things funny. And I do card readings. Most of the time I post a lot of stuff for the collective conscious, just to raise the vibration, just to make people, relax. Stop being uptight. Don't worry about perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. Nobody's perfect. And the more you strive for perfection, you ain't gonna ever get there. And I just want to share. Rising of the Phoenix is a closed page. I don't have it open to the public, only for the fact that if you cause drama, I just delete, gone. I like to share
Zero tolerance policy.
Zero tolerance policy. Yes, and I promote everybody sharing their group pages, what they sell, what they do. That is where, if you want to look for somebody that does certain things, I think I've got almost every Dark Horse paranormal podcast out there on that page. I also have other.
Most likely do, and that's my fault. I
Well,
apologize.
no, when you're not, I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it all the time. Sometimes you share it one day, and I'll share it the next day while it's going on. Just
That's
to update it. And I do it with Things Network. I do it with Pun. I do it with all of y'all because I want us all to learn from each other. Nobody's more special than the other. We're all just here putting the
that's
pieces
right.
of the puzzle. And I just want to be part of that puzzle along with everybody else. And I welcome everybody to Rising of the Phoenix. And you can learn new things and we can learn together and hope to see you there.
I think that's excellent, Anne. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is. And
Lynn,
people can come
where do
in.
people find you?
Actually, they can find me also we've just started a new Facebook page of the Synchronicity,
Yes, that too.
the pieces to the puzzle. But also, I have a website at www.lynnmonet.com. I can also be reached through that, my Lynn Monet page, my Omnipresent page. All of those pages people can reach on. And also, the things too that Ann and I do, we do some things a little bit differently. But you can come and take from it what resonates with you. Maybe not all of it is going to resonate with you, but there are some things that might, and take that, whatever it is that resonates with you, and hopefully it's stuff that can help people.
I think between the two, you guys have a great show, an awesome idea, and people will find things that resonate. There's no question about it. I'm so excited. So Valentine's.
Yeah, we were too. Yes,
Valentine's
is launch
Valentine's
date.
Day. Yes, it is. It is. And during those shows too, we're going to be bringing some people on that are experts in their field, some of them, and we'll be, giving some opportunities to ask questions tonight too. If anybody has questions for Chris or Ann or I, please feel free to ask them, and we can do some questions here for a little bit if you want. I didn't know how long we're going with the show tonight either. Are we an hour or 2 hours?
You guys are awesome. This has been amazing. And I'm going to close things up because I want
Okay.
to wait.
Oh, okay.
And anticipate the new show. I want them to want to watch you. And you guys are great. I know you're going to have something amazing to say to people. This is going to be a great show. Again, it's called Synchronicity. Adding the pieces to the puzzle.
Yes.
With Lynn Monet and Anne Young. I'm so psyched for you guys. This is awesome.
We're really excited. We're really excited too. We're kind of been hesitating because we don't want to talk over each other because we have so much to share. But also I wanted to make mention that I'm co-hosting on Journey Through the Gate with Cisco on Sundays.
Love Cisco.
So I love Cisco too. So definitely, you can reach out over there as well. She has a wonderful podcast with lots of good guests, and like I said, I get to co-host. So I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. Kind of.
Yes, thank you.
A little bit. I was like, oh, we didn't get.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect time to talk about your show. And
appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
As
Love
usual,
and light, everybody.
Synchronicity to everything.
Yes.
So
that's right.
Thank you. And you guys are awesome. This is going to be great. February 14th.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Eastern.
8
On time, 8 o'clock.
You're going to be able to find that on the Bigfoot and the Bunny pages, the Dark Horse Paranormal Production pages, as well as Paranormal United Network. I believe Screen 2. So
yes.
Thank you. It'll all be out there. And if you're following us at all, it'll be on our YouTube, guys. Jack and Echo. Absolutely. Check it out. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
See you soon, everybody. Looking forward to it.
That's all the time we have left. Thank you so much. You guys are great. We'll see you soon. We'll see you Thursday.